Ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again for another episode of R&B Fantasy. We're going to get the intro. We're going to get something going that's a little bit consistent here. We appreciate you guys tuning in for our wide receiver analysis episode. We appreciate the feedback that we had received, so we're going to try to implement that on this episode. And in today's episode, we're going to do something similar and kind of go over in redraft terms, running back rooms that are a little bit ambiguous. We're going to examine who's, a target and what their ADP is for sleeper ADP and kind of give our thoughts as to whether or not we would draft them and if we were to draft them at ADP or where we'd want to take them if we're not. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. So first off, we're going to go and discuss the Chargers. So we have Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, and Kimani Vidal are the three main options. And Boyd, with the ADPs that are on Sleeper, would you be taking any of these?
Probably Dobbins if I had to take any of them. I'm not really interested in Gus Edwards. I don't really think the ceiling is there. If you want middling RB2 production at ceiling, go for it. It's fine cost, around 10 or so, but it's just not for me. Not for me. Round 12, late round 12, almost round 13. Dobbins is he's palatable there. Hopefully, I guess you're pretty much what you're hoping for with Dobbins is just kind of like a Cam Akers after his Achilles tear, where he had a really good second half of the season. He had a good back half of the year. Ideally, that's what you're hoping for with Dobbins, is that he probably will start off, slower, but ramps up hopefully. And I think his ceiling's higher than Gus's. So I would rather just pay the later cost, take like a rookie wide receiver, or just spend that on a different running back instead of Gus. So that way I can get higher upside shot. Kimani Vidal, I drafted way too much of him in underdog, so I have no interest. But round 16, if you need another running back, I would prefer like Khalil Herbert in that range. I don't know what his exact ADP is, but like a Khalil Herbert kind of shot, I'd prefer that. Prefer Samaje Perine. Yeah, not really too interested in Kimani Vidal, but he's fine if you want another take another shot. I wish I didn't spend so much money on him this summer. What do you guys think of the Chargers running back room? Kind of gross.
Uh, in terms of redraft, I don't want to say I'm out because I try not to be out on players, but Gus Edwards has way too expensive a price for me in redraft. I would say I can understand drafting him in best ball, where in the couple games where he might rumble into the end zone twice, you'll get that in your lineup. But we're going to have no way of predicting when that's going to happen. And that's what all of his value is predicated on, based on what I expect the usage to be and what we've seen as usage historically in this league. So I would say I'm avoiding Gus Edwards at cost. I would probably also be in on J.K. Dobbins if it's between him and Vidal. To be transparent, I'm really not drafting any of these guys. I don't love the situation. I think Gus Edwards is kind of dust. J.K. Dobbins has had two major injuries in the past couple years. And Vidal, I guess, has upside if those guys are truly dust and injured. So maybe him, but I'm just out, honestly. If that's a viable option, I'm just not.
No, none of them.
Okay, then it's J.K. Dobbins. It's J.K. Dobbins then, but I just wouldn't be in. But gun to my head, I have to pick one. I think Dobbins is. We've seen him be good. He was going to be good when he came out of college, then he went through all these injuries. So if somehow he can get back to the trajectory he was on, then he's a massive value. And in a 12th round cost, 13th round cost, I mean, you're not really spending much, so you might as well take a shot, I suppose.
People are drafting kickers at that point. All right, take the RB off the Achilles tear. I'm with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just because we didn't say it. So Gus Edwards goes at the 10:05. J.K. Dobbins goes at the 12:10. So basically that 12:13 turn, and Kimani Vidal goes at the start of the 16th. So if Gus Edwards, for me at least, had the ADP of J.K. Dobbins, where he's going at the 12:3 turn, or excuse me, 12:13 turn, I would probably like entertain taking him here, depending on my builds. Like I just drafted like a hero. I just drafted a hero RB squad like right before we hopped on this call, and he was like, I got him in the 14th round on ESPN because everybody was just drafting kickers and defenses at that point. So, and he's like my fifth running back. So you might as well just see where it goes because they are going to be a run heavy offense, with Harbaugh being there. And it's just a matter of like Gus Edwards doesn't really have that receiving upside, but he could get every single one of the goal line carries. He could get a lot of touchdowns. Like he could be
For
a less
sure.
efficient like David Montgomery this year. Like we don't know. But to me, I would probably prefer Gus Edwards over J.K. Dobbins if Gus Edwards had the cost of J.K. Dobbins. But and on sleeper where he's going, I wouldn't be taking him in like the beginning of the 10th.
Yeah, I can't do it.
It's kind of funny you say that because I like to look at main event just because that's my biggest draft of the year. And looking at main event ADPs, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are literally back to back at 11.1 and 11.3. So
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's a bit closer together over there just because one of them goes off the board and the other one's just next because why not?
He did it. I'll take this one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it depends on the format that you're in because you can get discounts, and also like it's like with everything, like it's league dependent. Because once you get to that like later stages, like 100 plus, like if you're in a league with like people that are not as like diehard as some of us can be, like they don't know all the players, they might just take familiar names, so these guys can get pushed down.
Right.
Like Marquise Brown went at the 150 in our league, like it was. Like no one was drafting him because we were in a 10-teamer and like we only rostered 2 wide receivers and everyone had one at that point. So it was like you got to know your leagues and so on and so forth. So
I'm kind of surprised that the Chargers running backs on FFPC like main event go that close together. But that's kind of bizarro land, isn't it? Or isn't like the Cincinnati running back room also? Isn't it kind of like inverted compared to normal ADP over there? Like, isn't Chase Brown going first?
Well, we can get to that if you would like. If you think that's a nice transition.
I think that's actually pretty lovely. We should just scoot our way over to Cincinnati from Los Angeles.
So the Bengals running backs, we have Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Those are the only real 2 options. And on sleeper ADP, Zach Moss is the 808 and Chase Brown is the 1010. But as Pick and Boy just mentioned on different platforms, sometimes it's actually inverted where Chase Brown is ahead of Zach Moss. On ESPN, it's actually Chase Brown and Zach Moss like right next to each other in the rankings. I'm not sure what their ADP is, but what they display the rankings for everybody that they're like back to back. So in terms of Zach Moss, like I'm not picking him at the 808. That's just way too expensive. Like I would pick both of these guys like in that like end of 9th, like start of the 10th round. Like regardless of my build, like if I was going like bimodal RB, hero RB, zero RB, like they would fit any of that strategy because at that point my team would be rounded out if I went like the like the bimodal route. It's one of those things where I think Chase Brown has the more upside than Zach Moss because I mean Zach Moss is slow.
Unknown.
Like
Chase Brown is the unknown on this side.
Yeah, and he's the receiver. Like he got some work last year, and he did some decent work with it. So, Vic, who would you prefer out of Chase Brown and Zach Moss?
Well, assuming this cost, it would have to be Chase Brown in main event, like we were just saying. Instead of Zach Moss being at the 808, Chase Brown's at the 805, and Zach Moss is, I think, like somewhere in the 9th round. So, but looking at this, I would take Chase Brown. The thing is, Zach Moss played pretty decent football last year for the Colts. I mean, he was like an RB2 flex option when Taylor was out, and he had some juice. I'd never believed it to happen, but
me either.
He did. And right now, it's actually shaping out that Zach Moss is going to be the 3rd down long distance running back based on his pass protection skills and Chase Brown's lack thereof. So if that's the case, I think that Zach, like, it's another situation where I don't really love it, but in terms of upside, even if he's not the receiving back and at this cost, I would take Chase Brown. I think the way that things are shaping up right now, however, is that Zach Moss will be on the field more for long down and distance, and Chase Brown will be doing the 1-2 work. But we'll see how it plays out. There's just, even though Zach Moss did have juice last year, I can't pay an 808 price on him. That's absurd to me. There's so many other options. Like, what is that ahead of like Brian Robinson, Swiss cheese?
Yeah, that's ahead of Brian Robinson for sure. I think he goes around 9 on sleeper.
That's just a better option, probably ahead of Javonte Williams, who I'm moving up to a little bit. Like, there's just better options in that range. So I would take
crazy. It's crazy that you're out on Javonte this year, but I'm in on Javonte.
No, I'm warming up. I'm getting back
flipped.
In.
Okay,
I'm
getting
back in.
I'm glad you're heating up. But as far as the Bengals running back room go, I'm kind of with you there. If at this cost, for sure Chase Brown. If they're going back to back, I'm taking Zach Moss. Guy sat out all preseason. I think that's pretty important. Lined up for a key role there. Like
Right.
they really didn't want to like risk him getting hurt. They already had him lined up for the starting spot, so he's gonna have the opportunity. Does he get the opportunity and suck? That could happen.
Yeah.
Could Chase Brown then take off? Absolutely, but he also was a very inefficient his rookie year. So at the same price tag, I'm taking Moss, but at the deflated cost, I was taking Chase Brown in underdog drafts. So I would do the same thing here on Sleeper. Now that the cost is rising at underdog, I'm trying to mix in Moss. But yeah, 10-10, Chase Brown, phenomenal pick for 0 RB, hero RB, like whatever you want to do where you just wait back half load running backs. Great pick for it.
Yeah, and just to kind of add, like Chase Brown never saw more than 25% of snaps in a game, and he averaged in those games that he was playing, basically from week 13 on, he was averaging like 2.5 targets a game. So playing that low snaps and ending the year with 15 targets for 156, 15 targets, 14 receptions for 156 yards and a touchdown is, pretty encouraging considering that running backs, will like that receivers typically see 300-400 yards, and the fact that he was being used so little and he still got to 150, like it's pretty encouraging.
For sure.
So,
For sure.
especially in PPR, I'd be trying to get Chase Brown everywhere you can. So, alrighty.
Yeah,
In terms of another running backfield that actually just got muddied in the past few days since we've been writing this document, we have the Cowboys. So it's pretty disgusting. I can't lie. It's two old Donnies, and then we got a young guy who's not very good in Dowdle, but we really don't know who's going to be the main running back here. Like my heart points towards Zeke being the starter for the start of the year, but at the same time, like I really don't know. I really don't. Like Dowdle's going at the 1303, Zeke's going at the 1006. Dalvin Cook doesn't have an ADP yet because he was just signed to the practice squad. So there's not enough data for us to get where his ADP is reflective. So he'll basically be going at the end of drafts if he is even getting drafted. But in terms of those three, Boyd, are you messing with any of them? Because I'm personally not touching. Like I just drafted Dowdle as my last pick because why not? I'm in him as a hero RB, but like at these costs, I still don't even want in.
There's a zero. Let me repeat. 0% chance that I'm ever drafting Ezekiel Elliott in the 10th round of a fantasy football draft. There's no way that's ever happening. It's not happening. It's unfathomable, incomputable. It's not happening. All right. 10th round is crazy. He was fine last year, but I'm not paying 10th round for fine. We already established that with Gus Edwards. It's just not happening. I do like Dowdle, round 13. Career nothing, but last year showed little run in action.
Mhm.
Had like 350 yards. Got a little step in. Zeke sucks. Dalvin sucks. So maybe Dowdle doesn't suck. That's pretty much all
Or
I'm
maybe
hoping
they all
for.
suck.
They all could suck.
I mean,
but it's such a high value backfield and a high valued offense that I'm gonna take the stab, and I want to take the stab on Dowdle, kind of like the way with Dobbins was. I'll just take the middle one. I guess he's just priced appropriately. I am 100% down with Dowdle. Down with Dowdle.
Mhm.
Down with
Yeah.
Dowdle. So, yeah.
You go
No,
back.
you're
No,
good.
no,
No, you're good.
no,
All right.
I already spoke.
All right.
right.
So, okay. So, for me, yeah, it's just the lesser of three evils. And you want to talk
That's
about
a good way to look at it.
You want to talk about 0% chance of drafting, unfathomable, incomputable, incomprehensible. No chance on this fucking earth should anybody, any person have, I don't care how deep your league is, don't put Dalvin Cook on your fucking roster, bro. Don't do it. It doesn't make sense.
This is
the
awkward,
guy
bro.
is terrible at this point in his career. Was he once not terrible? Correct. But he's awful. So I can't believe anyone cares that he got signed, honestly. Anyway.
I may or may not have picked up Dalvin Cook in 50% of my dynasty leagues. I may or may not have. I may or may not
dynasty,
have.
it's fine
but
because
30 round
there's
deep
nobody there.
leagues. You know how my leagues are.
I get it. I don't care.
They're 12 team 30 rounds. That's a
I'm
lot of players.
rostering Aaron Hernandez before I roster fucking Dalvin Cook.
Wow.
Anyway.
Team mascot.
I would do Rico Dowdle as well. Long story short, I just had to put that in, bro. Nobody should roster. I keep wanting to say James Cook because Dalvin Cook is so irrelevant now that I can't believe I have to say his name on this broadcast.
Say his name.
But Zeke is too expensive. In best ball, it's a very similar to Gus Edwards situation, like kind of like Boyd was saying a little bit. Like he's gonna be the touchdown getter if there is one, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But you don't know when it's gonna come. So maybe you have to throw him in the flex for a week, but I can't pay that price. But when he gets dropped week 4 after putting up single digits 4 weeks in a row, then you can get him off waivers. So
scoop up.
But there may not be a correct option. But if I had to pick an option, it's Rico Dowdle. I also have Rico Dowdle. I picked him up off of waivers after my draft because I had like an IR stash. But that was just a very similar, like it's a high value offense. There should be some potency. So maybe we can luck into Rico Dowdle having a 10 point per game season. We'll see. Who knows? I don't know.
I have a feeling that he's like basically this year's Alexander Madison in a way.
Madison.
Like what Alexander Madison was last year, where he, the running back room was kind of wide open. Everyone kind of touts. Like, granted, Dowdle's not going as expensive as Madison was last year, but it's going to be a similar situation where he's not like the most talented running back, but as long as he gets those touches and like Bick had mentioned, he's in a high value offense. So the red zone opportunities should be plentiful, and we'll see how it gets distributed amongst him and Zeke. And hopefully Dalvin Cook doesn't come in and vulture some touchdowns because that would be a dagger in everyone's heart.
Correct.
So, and speaking of a dagger in someone's heart, I feel bad for Steelers fans because they have to endure a season of Arthur Smith, and we're going to have to see how
he was a fine OC in Tennessee. He was in a good. Revived Ryan Tannehill's
I know,
career.
but you got to keep going with the meme of just shitting on Arthur
fuck
Smith.
Arthur Smith.
Of course, yeah, dude's a bitch.
I had way too much invested in Kyle Pitts last year. Fuck Arthur Smith.
Yeah, my buddy.
All my homies hate Arthur Smith.
My buddy took a picture with Bijan Robinson when he came down to Tampa at a game, and he took a selfie with him, and he captioned it on Twitter. He was just like, "Smile if you hate Arthur Smith," because that was the game that Bijan was active and didn't play a single snap.
That's awesome.
So, all right. Anyways, back on track here. So we have Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren here, and Najee goes at the 701 on Sleeper, and Jaylen Warren goes at the 902. Now, I'm not opposed to getting either one of these running backs. Najee could potentially be interesting because it is like in a 10-man at the 701, which he'd probably be pushed back to the 8th round. But I would much prefer Jaylen Warren because Jaylen Warren has like more receiving upside, and he was much more efficient than Najee was last year. He's actually one of the more efficient backs in the NFL. No one's going to top A-Chain, but or A-Chon, excuse me.
That's hard to beat.
Yeah, but like Jaylen Warren, clearly displayed his effectiveness on the field, and I wouldn't be surprised if both of them get like a lot of volume this year because their offense, like their O-line is substantial. Like I would say it's probably just below league average, but if they have bad quarterback play, like there's going to be a lot of volume that's going to funnel through both of these running backs. Like I think it's just going to be Pickens and then these two running backs as being the main options here in this offense, like all year. Like I don't think Freiermuth or any of I don't think Justin Fields, if he ends up becoming the starter, will be viable. Like I really don't think that there's going to be.
Fields will be viable.
I really don't know because
football.
I mean, he could, but
it's like all he does.
I don't know.
All he's good at is fantasy football. He's not good at real
I don't know.
That's like it's the whole thing.
Because I don't think Arthur Smith is I don't think Arthur Smith will use the athletic capabilities because he didn't do that a lot with Ritter when
Ritter
he was there.
Sucks ass.
I know Ritter sucks, but Justin Fields
Cardinals.
I know Justin Fields isn't the same type of player as Desmond Ritter, but they both are not very good passers. And Ritter had legs that was never used effectively.
Has been so
we'll
good
see.
whenever he plays for fantasy. I know we're on running backs, but damn.
I mean, hey, we're talking about Justin Fields. We are talking about a running back.
Well, I mean, the thing is, he's not even the starter. So at this point, I'm not really confident if he ever becomes a starter. But anyways, back to the running backs here. I think that there's going to be, yes, a week 14 starter if you need it. But I think that Jaylen Warren would be like a main target. Like I would be targeting actively Jaylen Warren. Like not like he would be like, oh yeah, if he's like an option here, I'd take him. Like I would like in the 9th round, if he's there, I will be getting him because I think he's going to be a very good sleeper pick this year. Like I don't think he's necessarily going to be an RB1, but he could be in that like, RB like 12 to 18 range. Like that's very much in his range of outcomes in PPR because of his receiving upside. So Vic,
Jaylen
what do
Warren's
you
good.
think? Or excuse me, yeah, Boyd, what do you think about Jaylen Warren? Do you agree?
I think Jaylen Warren's good. I think Jaylen Warren's good at football. I didn't mean to steal it from Vic. I just wanted to say that. Vic, we'll get to you in a second. All right, buddy. Hold on. It's my turn to
My
talk.
bad. My bad.
Yeah, you gotta hold on. All right. Jaylen Warren, mad efficient. There you go. See, perfect. Now I can speak. Mad efficient, Jaylen Warren. All right, efficiency off the charts. Also, I don't know if you knew this, but Najee Harris. You remember how he used to catch footballs? Yeah, Jaylen Warren showed up in the middle of the night and just stole all of his receiving ability like the Grinch. It's just gone. It's Jaylen Warren's now. All the targets are his. He gets the ball, the valuable touches, maybe not the end zone touches, but he'll get to the end zone anyway this year. I'm telling you. I cannot pay round 7 for Najee, almost round 6. I just would rather take any wide receiver on the board. Any of them.
Fair
Terry,
enough.
Xavier Worthy, Odunze. I would take Brian Thomas, and Brian Thomas' ADP is 2 rounds later. I really just don't want Najee. I just don't think he has the same ceiling he did a few years ago. And I would rather take the bet on the much more efficient player who's been showing more flashes rather than just middling production.
Yeah. I think.
What do you think?
I do think they'll both be viable.
They'll definitely both be viable. It's more a cost thing for me. If Najee going around 8 or 9, I would be down. But 7, almost 6.
Oh, of course. I mean, I'm a Jaylen Warren guy. I have a shit ton of Jaylen Warren in my best balls. The only redraft league I've done this year, I had Jaylen Warren. I have Jaylen Warren on my roster. And we keep talking about his efficiency. So I actually have some metrics up here that he is better than Najee Harrison. Yards per carry, explosive run percentage, stuff rate, missed tackles forced per attempt, yards before contact per attempt, yards after contact per attempt, fantasy points per game, total fantasy points, and there was one other one that I don't have, but
that's a lot.
The only thing that Najee Harris has going for him is the scheme. And Najee was way more effective in a zone run scheme. And Arthur Smith ran that the second most in the entire NFL last year, I believe. So the scheme is going to fit Najee Harris way better than Jaylen Warren on paper. But we know Jaylen Warren is really good, and Najee Harris is just a darling of the coaching. So he's never going to lose his job.
Boy.
Yeah. He's not going to lose his job. It's unfortunate. It's going to be a 55-45, 50-50, some sort of near even split, I would imagine. But, with Warren being as good as he is and the rate with which Russell Wilson dumps off, I mean, that's a match made in heaven. I do think that Najee will catch more balls this year, even though you did reference Jaylen Warren as being the Grinch of receiving work.
Man, you think Najee catches more? I can't do it, dude.
I just think it'll. I get it.
40 more.
I just think it'll happen because of how Russell Wilson is. It's just how it is.
That's fair. But I mean, like, I just feel like it'll be hard for them to look and see how efficient Warren has been with the receiving, and then see how well he did last year with the receiving, and then see Najee's consistent dip. And I just don't want to bet on that at the more expensive price.
The thing is that NFL coaches don't give literally a flying fuck if players are better than the other.
They should.
They should, but they don't, because it's all about the politics. Oh, we drafted Najee, blah blah blah, so he's got to be used forever.
It's getting political. Look at this.
I know it's stupid. I'm a fucking Democrat. Anyway, no, no, I'm just kidding. So
is he?
I don't know. Who's to say? This isn't a political podcast, so we don't have to talk about it. But
I'm a Jaylen Warren.
We're cutting this out. We're cutting this out.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So I'm kidding.
Is that a party? Can I write in Jaylen Warren?
We watch UDFAs that are productive get cut and have other running backs come in just because of draft capital, and it's like it's a joke. So that's why I can't totally. I mean, I'm trying to get Jaylen Warren as much as I can because he's cheap enough where you can do it as a flex option at worst. Like, you probably don't have him as your RB2, but if you had him as your RB2, it's not the end of the world because he'll give you
my RB2.
Fair enough.
I'm a fiend.
Fair enough. So, like,
for wide receivers, to be specific, not for Jaylen Warren.
But yeah, 701 cost for Najee Harris is fucking ridiculous. So I'm not paying.
That's too. Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I can't pay around That's where Xavier Worthy goes.
How about 8-1?
Yes,
That's doable.
I
I could
would.
swing that. I could get on board with 8-1.
8-1
I'm
is
just gonna add something too.
Like he's fine.
Yeah, like Najee Harris is also on the last year of his rookie deal, and I doubt they pick up his 5th-year option, so they may have more of an incentive to use him, like
Burn
just
him up.
basically until the wheels fall off and like preserve Jaylen
Could he
Warren.
get
Still use
hurt?
him, but
I'm not a
presume.
doctor.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it works, but like Vic, I do agree. I was actually going to make that point. Like Russell Wilson is, he does dump it off quite a bit. Najee Harris might be the beneficiary of the dump offs, but Jaylen Warren might have more of the designs, like actual pass plays. Like he
Right.
might get more of the screens. Like he could get a couple snaps out in the slot. It's one of those things where it's a matter of like we got to see how off this offense is because they looked absolutely garbage in preseason. So it's a matter of how good they actually like show up in the regular season and then how those two are actually used. Because if it's a 50-50 split, but Jaylen Warren is getting more high value touches than Najee is, it makes more sense obviously to go with Jaylen Warren. But if Najee's still getting all the red zone carries, he's getting enough reception work like Vic was just mentioning with the dump offs, he could still be better than Jaylen Warren. I'm not because I think that he could be better than he was last year. And that's why I wouldn't be afraid of targeting him and like maybe the end of the 7th round in a 12-man. But it's one of those things where like Jaylen Warren is always going to be a target regardless of his cost, like being because it's always in like the end of the 8th or beginning of the 9th, whereas Najee's varies from platform to platform.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a pick and choose basis, but I don't think either one of them is going to steer you wrong this year, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
But they're not going to win you leagues either. So
unless though
it happens, one gets hurt, and then
unless Najee, I mean,
that's true. That's true.
Like, that's 100% in play.
I think. Yeah, you go. Yeah,
I think Najee is more likely to finish higher, but I just don't think it's like a 2-round cost gap. You know what I mean?
Well,
so like I expect Najee to be the better one. It's more likely that way. Like he's gonna get the volume. He was a former first round pick. Like he's gonna get the guaranteed touches. All that stuff. But I just don't. It's a cost thing at the end of the day. But I do agree that Najee is going to probably he's like most likely 8 out of 10 times probably like he's going to finish with more or higher rank fantasy thing or finish or not thing.
Like I said though, and it is nitpicking. It's like a 0.1 point per game difference or something like that. But Jaylen Warren was literally better last year. He outscored Najee Harris in both fantasy points per game and total points. So it's like why are they 2 rounds apart at this point?
That's like the whole thing with me is like I just don't understand why he costs so much more.
And
so I'll just not take the one that's 2 rounds more expensive.
I feel like Najee Harris without Jaylen Warren is like right here. Like if Jaylen Warren goes down, Najee's here. But I think if the roles are reversed, we probably see more of a higher ceiling with Jaylen Warren if Najee went down.
Agreed.
I would agree.
So you get him cheaper, will probably produce pretty much the same with a higher ceiling. It's kind of a no-brainer.
He's already out producing last season, like barely, but out producing fantasy wise, and that's with the minor role. If he got the goal line touches and the bulk of the rushing work, I mean, so fucking sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Jaylen Warren to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key thing, I guess. Just draft a Steelers running back, and hopefully it's not one that goes early round 7.
Yep, you guys make that choice. So that wraps up today's show. We are going to be discussing tight ends at length. What was that?
Quick little episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, quick little
palatable.
episode. Yep. Last time it was a little bit lengthy because of the storm and just shoddy internet. So that was
Hurricane Tortilla.
Yeah, apologies for that. Hopefully things stay better. The weather's been kind of shitty this week, so hopefully the next time we record it,
I have one more thing. I want to do this time. I'm not going to do the porn star thing. I just panicked because I didn't know you guys were going to make me do that. I want you to put down in the chat your favorite word, like your favorite. Ooh. So I have a list on my phone of words I like. So to give some inspiration, idiosyncrasies, genesis.
That's a big word.
Soliloquy. Philodendron.
So what the fuck does soliloquy mean?
Soliloquy is like in a play.
Okay.
Like the actor will like talk to the audience, but like it's kind of like a breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's just breaking the fourth wall. Yeah.
So anyway, psychotic, parallelogram, indubitably,
Indubitably is a
photosynthesis,
banger.
carcass, inertia, momentum, velocity,
Velocity is
Newton's
a good
law
word.
in here.
Mesopotamia,
What the hell?
and elixir.
They're putting in all my food.
Anyway,
Elixir is a banger.
just put your favorite word that like these words make me feel, it's my autism. They make me feel like all tingly and nice inside.
My favorite word
Dude, when you
is zeitgeist. I don't know
See?
why. Just a
That's
banger
fire.
word.
That's
Banger
dope.
word.
That's dope.
Mine would be
it's
probably
just a good
doppelganger.
word.
See?
Doppelganger's good.
That's-
See?
Doppelganger's a
We
good
all
one.
have a touch of the
Yeah.
tism.
No, I'm going to be honest with you. When you're
It's a
reading
big
that out
boy
loud and
thing,
you
of
read the
course
second
mine is.
one, you said Genesis, and I thought you were about to say genocide, and I was just like, bro.
No, that's not good. That's a bad word. We don't talk about
Yeah.
that.
All right,
I was
then.
about to be
Bad
like,
word.
all right, well, thank you all for watching. I hope you guys get something out of this in terms of what running backs to target. Let us know down in the comments your favorite word. Make sure you guys check the links below. Follow us on X. Subscribe to our
Twitter.
YouTube. Yeah,
Follow us
I
on
have to
Twitter.
call it X, man. Follow us on Twitter/X. Join the Discord if you guys haven't already. The link will be down below, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.
Goodbye.